Hey, what's up? This is the second part of the Blender first-person shooter tutorial, and this is going to be on unwrapping the M4 model that we made in part 1 of the tutorial. So the first thing we're going to do is unwrap this model, and I'm going to do that in parts the same way I did the model. So we'll start by doing the receiver and the grip here. So let's hide all the other objects except for this part. Make a new image. And I'm going to make this 512 by 512. Okay, go into edit mode. We'll go to face select mode, select all the faces, click U, and we'll just click reset for now. And that's just going to map every face to this square. And we're just going to do that for now. This button, if you have this clicked, it's going to make it so that any face you select in the 3D view will also be selected in the UV image editor. So we'll have that turned on. So all these faces in the UV image editor, we're just going to scale down and we'll move that out of the way for now. When we unwrap this, you don't want any faces to be perpendicular to the two-dimensional view over here. And because if they are, it's going to stretch the texture. Especially with when we have a normal map on here, any faces that are perpendicular on the texture are just going to be completely black. They're not going to have any normal data. So what I like to do is start out by doing each side first. So let's see. We're just going to select all of the visible faces here. Gotta remember that hotkey is C now to select this. It used to be B on the old version of Blender. So let's just select all of the visible faces and press U and project from view. Okay. Just scale that down and move it out of the way somewhere. We'll move it around later. And now hide those faces. Now we'll do the same thing from this side. Just select all the visible faces and project from view. And hide it. Now let's take a look at all the faces we have left. A lot of these are those faces that would have been perpendicular on the image. So we're gonna get these from a separate view, but first, before we do that, go ahead and unhide everything. Some of these we do want to be selected as part of the parts that we already unwrapped, and some of them I'm going to take off and do them separately. So I'll start out by doing, let's see, this piece, which is the forward assist button. I'm going to unwrap that separately because I want to view that from straight on. Let's see. All these other pieces I want in the same group. And don't worry about missing some perpendicular faces, because after we make the texture you can always go back and change the unwrapping. If it's something small, you won't even really notice. Yeah, like all these faces here. They're probably going to turn black when we put on the normal map, but then I'll just move them around after the fact and make it look better. They're barely visible anyway, so okay, let's see. This is actually an interior face, I can just delete that. Oops, don't want to delete the vertices, just the face. Okay. Let's get these top faces. These might actually be more interior faces. It looks like they are. Not that one. This one is an interior face. Delete that. Let's see, we'll make the chamber separate. Oops. I'll just make that black on the texture, so we'll just reset that and have it as just a square. We'll just make it black. Okay, let's get the back side of this. Alright, now all these side pieces we're going to make just a solid color. So those again, we'll do the trigger assembly separate though, so we'll just get the pieces on the gun that are going to be the gray plastic. The trigger is going to be more like a silver color. Okay, that should be all of it. I'll just reset that. Now let's see what we have left. What's that piece? That is another interior face. And that should actually be in the same group. Just part of that plastic. We'll just move it on top of it. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to make it a solid color. I'm still not used to the Blender 2.57 controls. These might be more interior faces. Yes, looks like they are. Oh, missed some of these. Another interior face. Okay, so now we're going to get the trigger assembly. We'll keep this separate from the other one because it's going to be a different color. Alright, now let's look at what faces we still have to get. They might be more interiors. And it looks like those are. Okay, so everything should be pretty much unwrapped. Now we just need to move these around to a place where it's going to be easy for us to texture it. Okay, so these side views are probably the most important, so we want to make those big so we can add a lot of detail to it. Okay, so this back piece is also pretty important, so we'll make that a pretty larger size compared to the other ones. Same with this top part. I can just go wherever. So I think all these remaining pieces are just solid colors. So that's the inside of the chamber. We'll need to remember where we put these because they're all going to look the same. These are all plastic pieces. And then these are the metallic pieces for the trigger assembly. You know what, just so I can remember better, I'll move these around. So the plastic ones are over here, and the trigger ones are right under the trigger on the receiver. Okay, so we have the right side of the receiver, the left side of the receiver. The front view, whatever you want to call that, and the forward assist button, and then this is going to be the solid colors are these three squares here. That's the inside of the chamber, the trigger silver pieces, and the plastic pieces. So that should be pretty good for the unwrap. Any pieces that, or any faces that end up black after we apply the normal map, that just means that they're perpendicular on this image, and I can already tell you there's a few that are, like the top of this piece here, but I'll just go back and move those after we apply the textures. Okay, so I just took a screenshot of that window, and I'm going to use this to edit the image, and I'm going to do that in Blender. But first I'm going to unwrap the other pieces, and I'll just do that in fast motion. Okay, so we got the M4 totally unwrapped. We have it in separate parts. There's the barrel, charging handle, dust cover, front sight, rear sight and carrying handle, the magazine, the receiver, and the stock. Okay, so the next part of this tutorial is going to be creating the textures for these, and then we're going to apply it to the model.